Hey guys, in this episode we're going to discuss the film How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. We're going to talk about the visuals, the villain, and give you our thoughts on if the franchise should release another film or not. This is episode 122 of the Reel-ists podcast. Hello listeners and welcome. I am Donnie.
And I'm Oscar.
And we have our producer Ruben here. Hello, he says. Thank you guys for tuning in to this very special episode. It's very special. Every episode's very special.
That is true.
Want to quickly remind you guys before we get into this episode that we are on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Team Reel-ists. Team Reel-ists, no dash.
You want to?
I'm laughing because when we were filling out that thing and it asked us for our social media, and I was like, wait, what is it? And you were like, you say it every episode.
You really forgot.
I really forgot. It's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to like when you have the pen in your hand and you have to write it.
So essentially, if the mic's not in front of you, you forget what it was.
Exactly.
That's funny.
It was like, I don't know. It felt like more pressure. Like the pen in my hand. My hand was shaking.
Make it official. Write it down.
Exactly. Seriously. It's like more real at that point. But we are on those platforms. We're also on YouTube and on iTunes if you want to leave us a comment. And if you want to rate us on iTunes too, we surely would greatly appreciate it. Just so you can give us some feedback and let us know how we're doing. So we can, keep trying to give you the things you love about this podcast and try to improve on some things that we might need to improve on. I don't know. You tell us.
You control the fate of our podcast.
Exactly. Share your thoughts. But yeah, so for this episode, we are going to discuss the film How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. This is the third and final, well, quote unquote, final installment of the Dragon franchise. But
dun, dun, dun.
We don't really know.
Well, I mean, we'll talk later.
We will.
I'm sure we have our structured outline, but
not really. But go ahead, Oscar. Why don't you tell us your quick thoughts on How to Train Your Dragon?
Yes, I've seen the first two. It's not that I haven't. It's just been a while that I've seen the first two. So
it's
like,
been a minute.
So it was like the one thing that took me out for just a quick second was that the dad was dead, which I forgot he sacrificed. All that.
Dang, that was a big one too.
I'm just assuming just from like all the images and always like replaying like the first one on TV and like the TV show, the dad's still present. So it was just. Yeah, it was like the second one I don't think I've seen since like maybe a year after it came out. So It's been a long time. It's been 5 years since I think the second one came out in 2014.
Yeah. First one came out in 2010.
But to my quick thoughts. So it was really good. I really enjoyed this one. It was satisfying. And I think despite some little plot, holes, conveniences and all that you would get, which is expected for, a family fun film. But I really did enjoy it. I thought the characters developed more so in the sense that, they were starting to become the adults that they were going to be destined in a way, especially with Hiccup becoming a leader. So I really liked that aspect of it. I love that they didn't force the Astrid and Hiccup relationship. It was still becoming its natural thing. Yeah, when they... Spoiler alert, when they jump forward to the end and they time skip, at that point, they're married. So, but it didn't feel forced in the sense like they had to just because they were the two main characters. Like it was, if you watch it from the first one, it shows a nice growth. And even Astrid admits that, she got better with him being around and introducing to the dragon. So I like that development. The villain I thought was weak. I thought the villain just...
Rimmel.
Yeah, it didn't add anything. I know that they're trying to add this threatening, he could actually kill Toothless and, he's a threat. But really, it served nothing in this movie. I think this movie should have focused a little bit more on finding the place for the dragons, as is in the title, The Hidden World, rather than trying to, like, avoid getting, like, captured by the villain. So a lot of great elements. I think it does conclude this franchise in the same way that Toy Story 3 concluded the Toy Story franchise. But when money talks, apparently it doesn't conclude the franchise. Mm-hmm. So that's a whole another thing that's kind of just like, what it's like, what is a good ending? Is it based off of how successful the last one is, or is it, it bombed, so therefore that's no more movies of that? It's an unfortunate part of it. It's one of those it's just the way the business is. The business sees dollar signs, so of course they're going to make a fourth one probably. I would expect it to. I don't think it would be the end. Because at some point it's going to come back. Even if it's not like in the next 5 years that you see How to Train Your Dragon 4, you're going to get it 10 years. Just like how Toy Story 4 was. 9 years later, you got the fourth one. So It's unfortunate, but it's expected. Just seeing the box office numbers and how this one was the best out of the three. And I actually believe that it's because people wanted to conclude it, First one came out in like 2010. So for people to, be like, oh, that was my childhood movie when I saw that, and it's concluding now. It's a complete circle. I've seen it all. I can move on. I think that's honestly the reason why the movie did better than expected at the box office, was because a lot of people that saw it wanted to conclude that, wanted to close that chapter. So very similar to Toy Story 3 in terms of like that kind of, it's over, question mark.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I asked for your quick thoughts, right? I just saying. No, I got you.
So thank everyone for tuning into this episode.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit every point. So there's not much more further we have to dive deep into. But let me give you mine. I'm right on par with you, Oscar.
So you just gonna repeat everything I said?
No, I ain't gonna repeat it. That was the last too much to repeat. But it was really good. I was really, really blown away by the animation. I thought it was just visually such a beautiful film. As were the first two, I thought were beautifully done too. But this one was I felt like just elevated more with the visuals. It was so pretty, so fun to watch too. Little FYI, Oscar and I saw this in Prime. So like the sound is amplified and the vibrations like going through the seat. So, during certain parts of the film, it was almost like being on an attraction, which was really, really fun. And I definitely would recommend, if you guys have not seen the movie yet, you should probably, I think it would be worth it to watch it in Prime or like Dolby Digital. I think that'd be a really fun experience, especially for kids, if they like that kind of stuff. But I thought it was really, really cool. But I really loved the animation. The characters, I felt, were just, going from the first one to the second one to this one. I feel like they were well developed throughout, and we were getting these arcs that were satisfying and gratifying. And I didn't feel like, there are some side characters that they don't obviously dive too deep into, because they are what they are, like what are like Rough Nut and like that the twins, the brother and sister, and they're just kind of like dopey and goofy, but they serve a purpose to the story. I love the characters. In terms of the villain and Grimmel, I thought he was villainous, but he wasn't like the best villain, the best animated villain ever. He was more so just annoying me because he wanted to capture these dragons and kill them, or not kill them, but what did he want to do with them? He wanted to like rule them, right? He was trying to like.
He wanted to kill Toothless.
He wanted to kill all the Night Furies. But Toothless, they didn't kill him.
Right.
But.
He wanted to kill. He wanted to capture them on and just do like the selling to those pirates and stuff. I don't think they were pirates; they were Vikings. But
Vikings, yeah, they were
crossover,
right? Seriously. But yeah, it was cool. He was what he was. He wasn't my favorite, but he wasn't. The one thing that really bothered me was the way he died, because it's like, okay, we know he's evil, we know he's villainous, and for me, when I'm watching a movie, if there's like a villain that's just like doing all these bad things and pissing me off at certain points throughout the film, then I need to see a really juicy way for them to get killed, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not a juicy way. And I know this is a family film. It's an animated film. It's a kids film. I got it. So it's not going to get too graphic or anything, but it's like, I need to like, I guess a part of me really needs to enjoy the fact that the villain is being like triumphed by the hero by Hiccup.
Do you need to see it like in the sense?
Maybe I need like a slow mo or like something. I mean, because he literally, I mean, how he died. We already said spoiler alert, but like him and Hiccup were falling basically to their death into the water, and the Light Fury ended up saving Hiccup right in the nick of time, but the other Grimmel ended up falling to his death, or so we presume. We just watched him plummet into water.
We didn't even see the plummet. We
just saw him falling down, and we know he goes into water. Like we didn't even see the splash or nothing. I don't know. He could have. I mean, it's animated film. Like he could have just like survived it and swam back to shore and been like, "I'll get you next time." But anyways, I wish I wish I could have seen. That would have satisfied me more to see him like falling into a flame or like. I don't know, seeing a dragon swallow him whole.
Right.
But they gave us a very rated G version of it. So, other than that, that was one of the things I didn't like about the film. But everything else I pretty much loved, especially the hidden world. I wanted to ask you, Oscar, were you satisfied when they finally, this film is called How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. So we know we're waiting for this, kind of mysterious place that we've never seen before be uncovered, and we got that at a certain point in the film. So what did you think when you saw it for the first time?
Visually it was really nice. I thought it was introduced well, because it wasn't like they just go make a left here and all of a sudden it's there. It kind of had to go a little bit deep into this like waterfall cave kind of thing. But no, I really liked the idea of this hidden world. I like how it kind of ties into that, myth of, dragons do exist. We're just waiting for that one day that, we can be together with them again and stuff like that. I always like those kind of little touches of like, that's why we're not seeing them now, and the mix kind of optimistic feeling. It's not like dragons were killed, that was the end of it because we had no more. So I like that idea. I don't like how we got to it. I don't like how it was, we're searching for it, and then we're also running away from the villain. All right, we're going to stay at this area. We're going to settle here. All right, Hiccup, you're free to go with the Light Fury. All right, I have to go find Hiccup because he's been gone for too long. Oh, look, I found the hidden world. Like, I just didn't like that natural progression. I felt like they could have made it...
like, they kind of stumbled upon it, right?
Right.
And you didn't like the fact that they...
Because
it wasn't like it was sort of accidental.
Yeah, in a way, accidental. Like I understand the whole, it's hidden. Like it's not supposed to be easy to find, but I felt like it was a little too easy. And there's just so many questions that come up with like, so was the Light Fury always, in this world and then decided to just branch out but got caught? Like why did she leave this hidden world? Like there's some questions that arise from that. Because it made it to more of like, let's just jump to getting this place revealed so that we can move forward with, where Hiccup really belongs. And I felt like I would have enjoyed it more if we would have started to see more and more reasons why Hiccup needed to leave. Not Hiccup. Toothless needed to leave Hiccup and really move on. Like I felt like if we would have got more of that as they were trying to, stop this bad guy, that probably would have been the focus, then the hidden world. Like it just felt like they were trying to combine these two ideas of, let's go search for this hidden world, but at the same time, let's give him a villain who's going to be, a threat, quote unquote, and it just didn't.
Well, I feel like, if they did, let's say they didn't have a villain and they were just like, what would the conflict have been? Like the drive, like what would have been? They're searching for a hidden world, and there's got to be some conflict and some like.
There could have been a different ideas to it. It just depends, obviously. You could have done a whole like time's running out, the race against the clock kind of threat. It didn't have to be like a physical Viking that's trying to kill them, but that would have been fine too. But it played it off with more of like, this Viking is not necessarily attacking strong, is just kind of playing a little of a game with them, toying with them essentially. And then when it tried to actually capture them, he wasn't prepared for it. Like all the dragons like teamed up and the humans were able to outthink him for one move, and that just like destroyed his entire like trap plan. And so yeah, that was, I don't know, I didn't feel like these two elements worked well. Maybe if they would have thought of a little bit more how to tie it together, it probably would have been better. But yeah, that was just, yeah. The Hidden World was really nice though. Like visually, it was awesome to see. I love the concept of it. I love the idea that that's where the dragons are currently at. To this day, still not ready.
You said something that I was trying to let you finish and not interrupt you. What was it? Oh, it was about having the villain as like kind of having a physical person as a bad guy, whereas they already did that with the second one. Yeah. And they had like I forgot what it was called, but it was like that super alpha dragon that like controlled all the other dragons, and it's like they already kind of had that conflict of like the struggle for power, right, so to speak. So I feel like to do something different, they could have diverted away from that, and like you said, a villain could have been like maybe like against time, or maybe some other element, not another quote unquote bad guy, so to speak. That could have been interesting.
It would have been. I mean, obviously we're not even close to to be like number one fan, to be like, this is what they could have done, because in season 2 of the show they introduced this one. Like obviously if you're a fan of it more so and watch this show and have all the mythology knowledge about it, you probably would come up with a better alternative for that. But.
Right. I gotcha. I want to say the Hidden World, I loved. I will say
one more time.
I loved. And when we were in the theaters, I said something like, "Okay, Avatar, like there, was a little Avatar. It was a little land of Pandora with the bioluminescence and the purple and the blues and the nature just glowing and illuminating." It is very beautiful to see. Obviously, I mean, we loved seeing it in Avatar, but I did kind of get that vibe a bit. So,
didn't we also get a Lion King vibe, or was that?
Yeah, there was when Toothless and the Light Fury were like at the top of that cliff, and they were like, and all the dragons were like bowing before them. Yeah. It was like very like Circle of Life moment. I was like, man, How to Train Your Dragon, they're just like taking a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and
they're just like, this
throwing it into movie. They're like, let's go out with a bang. Let's take all the best ideas from the movies we love and just throw them in this pot, and maybe it'll work. But yeah, I mean, other than those little things that I noticed, I loved it. I loved how they did kind of in a way trip up on it by mistake. I mean, they were searching for it, but I think at that point they were just trying to find Toothless. So when they did go into it, I was just like ready to receive it. Like I didn't know what it was going to look like, how complex or layered it was going to be. I like that you had to like go through the waterfall, and then when you first, like, as you started going in, you started seeing things glowing and lighting up. So I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be nice. And then they just kept going through it and kept flying through it deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah. And it was really deep. Like I didn't think it was going to be so spacious and so like lush in volume.
Right.
So I really liked that. And it seemed like they would like it seemed like they would get to a stopping point, but then they'd go further, and then it'd be like, oh, they have to stop here, and they, and the quote unquote camera would pan around and capture, not really, but like they were showing us this world,
Yeah.
And so appropriately, I think it's appropriately titled The Hidden World, because it is like a little world. I was afraid that it was just going to be like just a little cave or something smaller in scale, but it really was like its own space, its own little world, and yeah. it had to be, because all these dragons have to coexist in it. So
I will say, I mean, not to kind of say that this is what they were going for, but to me, I saw it a little bit more like a dragon heaven than like a world, because I just didn't see anything that the dragons really live off of. It was just kind of like hills and like flower and lights, and like there wasn't like like, oh, this is where they eat. This is where they drink water. Despite being going through this waterfall, there is no like living life around them.
It was very like fantasy land.
Yeah, so.
I mean, it was like very La La Land too, but no, yeah, very. I get what you're saying because it did seem like a dreamlike, very dreamlike.
Yeah.
And that brings me to another point when they were back on the it was called Burke, right? The island of Burke,
yes.
where they all lived. And in the beginning, when they were like rescuing all these dragons and bringing them back, and we were like, are all these dragons like pooping and peeing and
right.
and like where's all the waste going? Because they're just like it just looks like they're so heavily condensed in this little space, and they're just all flying around amidst each other and like knocking over things. It's just so overcrowded. So it's like I'm thinking like just logistically, like how are the like what okay, what do dragons eat? Like how are we feeding them all enough? Where's all the waste going?
Don't ask those questions.
I know it's
just enjoy.
I know
that's exactly.
You're gonna ruin the magic of the film. I know.
That's exactly what they were going for. I think they were just like, don't ask those questions.
They really were. I mean, and
watch the TV series if you want answers.
Dang, go read the book if you really want to know. Which I didn't know was loosely based off a book. Right. That's a new fact to me. I didn't know that.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? I
mean, what isn't nowadays? But yeah, I mean, The Hidden World was really loved it. And I guess from that point on to the rest of the film, I was really satisfied with. I mean, the second half of it with, aside from the villain intervening and kind of like making a mess out of things, but you have this, you have Toothless and this Light Fury, and they obviously have such good chemistry, and they're forming this relationship. So and it's like as of now, we only know that they're both the last two of their kind. We didn't see any other like Furies at that time.
Who knows? Yeah, in the Hidden World, who knows? But
I mean, we thought Toothless was the only one for the first two films until they introduced this one. So it's like, we don't know. But we know that there's a romance forming, and at some point it seems like there's going to have to be a point where Hiccup and Toothless have to part ways. And they do end up parting ways. And we're sad about it, but I mean, Hiccup understands that Toothless is in love and has to go and well, he understands he has to go and like be with the Light Fury. He doesn't have to, but he wants to. But he also knows that humans and dragons cannot coexist safely, and that the Hidden World is where they belong. So we conclude with Hiccup and the rest of the people of Burke basically releasing all their dragons, and Toothless, being the alpha dragon, kind of rallies them to all go live in the Hidden World. And a very emotional moment, at least for me. I was like, it's a bittersweet goodbye. And then we just keep going along with the fields, and like they're doing everything in their power to make me cry.
A wedding happens.
So we have a wedding. We have Astrid and Hiccup finally marrying and uniting and becoming one. And then we're like, oh yeah, because we've seen this relationship kind of blossoming and developing over the course of 3 films. And then, to add even more salt into the wound, not in a bad way, in a good way, fast forward to 5 years later, and
was it 5? I didn't know it was 5.
I thought it was 5. I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Well, how old was their oldest kid?
Oh, maybe that's a good determination.
That's what I was thinking.
It looks like about 5.
So we fast forward
6.
to about 5 to 7 years in the future, and Hiccup has a full-grown beard, like he's now like mountain man, like straight up Viking to the T. And him and Astrid had 2 kids, and they're trying to go find the Hidden World one last time.
I don't know if that was their goal. Maybe.
I think it was to show the kids that because as of this point, the world doesn't know that dragons are still exist, right?
Right.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
And he was saying like about like they want to keep the secret. So I think it was just to show his 2 children like, hey, like the tales I've been telling you guys are true. Dragons do exist. Watch. And then they show Toothless and with the Light Fury, and they have their own babies, 3 little Light Fury / Night Fury babies. I guess technically they're like biracial.
Right.
Half black, half white. So then they're like Toothless, and we get that reconnection with Toothless and Hiccup, and then it's like we get like to see Toothless's family bonding with Hiccup's family, and it's just it's just a great moment, a great stamp on the envelope, a great ending to a 3-part movie, to
Question
a
mark.
franchise, to a moment in time. At least that's how I felt. Were you satisfied with the ending?
I was satisfied. It provides a conclusion to it, and that's the sad part, is that it's not. I doubt it's gonna be the end, but I mean, it's gonna be. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, do you ignore if they make a future one? Do you be like, no, or do you be like, oh, 10 years later, oh, I remember How to Train Your Dragon. I loved that movie. I cried on the third one.
Yeah.
I have to see it again.
I mean, just like Toy Story, right? Like,
Yeah.
we all cry. I still have not seen Toy Story 3, so I still have to see it. But like everyone cried on Toy Story 3, and it was like the same year we were graduating high school that Andy was going off to college, so it was like very emotional for people. And
Yeah.
you know, and it was supposed to be the goodbye, but
Right.
then they were like, you know, nope,
9 years later,
we coming at it, we're
got a
doing it
fourth one.
again.
It's one of those, like, when you think like, oh, I'm good, I can put these stuff away, and then 5 years later you're just like, where is it? I need this basketball that I had, in my life growing up. I need this race car that, gave me the motivation to be a driver. All those like little like single items that you need. I guess it was like, for us, it's like, and it's pretty much, I mean, that's not saying this is the plot of the movie, but it's like Andy in a way like desperately trying to get back Woody. It's kind of like that for us. It's like we need Woody. And the thing is, all the characters you can still see in like Toy Story shorts that they had, and then if you go to the theme parks, you can go see them there as well. So it's not like it was a complete, like, you have no other way of seeing these characters. But
Yeah.
this is How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Not Toy Story 3, by the way. I just feel like I personally feel like we ended it on like, I could not have made a better ending. Like, I couldn't, it just wrapped up every loose end for me. It brought, these two people that have had this like, friendship / romance going on, and they get married, and then they have their kids, and you have Toothless. We thought he was the only one of his kind, but he found, his opposite or his equal in a female Light Fury. So then they have their family, and then we have these two long time friends reuniting, and their families bonding together, and it's just and Hiccup kind of narrating, saying, until humans and dragons can safely coexist, we'll keep the secret. We will guard the secret of the dragons and of the hidden world. So it's like, it was a perfect ending for me. It couldn't have been more perfect. So for to think about years down the line, if they want to do a fourth one, it's like, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm not, if they did come out with a fourth one, I'm definitely going to see it, because I love this franchise so much. And, I mean, I doubt it would be with the same characters. And I think the director said if they did do a fourth, DreamWorks decides to do a fourth one, hopefully they just expand the universe and are introducing new characters and not, tainting a perfectly solidified story is what I hope for. So I'm pretty sure there will be a fourth one. This was the biggest opening for this franchise. I think the first one opened at 43 million. The second one was like 49 million. And this one was like 55.5 million. So obviously, with every film, they're garnering more and more money, but like more and more audience and fan base. And I think it's proving that people do really love this story and love this world. So, it won't shock me if there will be a fourth one, but I don't think there needs to be. But people got to make money, right? DreamWorks wants to make as much money as they can. I get it. So
It's the way it is. That's where the dollar signs come.
Money talks. I was trying to think of something else that rhymed with that. Isn't there like a saying like money talks, something walks? Isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
Know what it is. Know what that other part is.
Make up that part.
Okay. Well, Oscar, back to you. What was your favorite scene from the film?
I really liked the scene where the villain approached Hiccup at Hiccup's like home in that like house, whatever they call that. I liked it because I liked the moment that the villain seemed like he was going to be an actual threat, and it was like the team thought they had the one up on him. They're like, oh, you thought we wouldn't be prepared for you, and yet he still was able to get an edge on them. So I liked that because I thought that was going to be the turning point where like this villain is a legit threat. Like they can't mess around. They can't assume they're going to have it. They have an advantage or anything. So I thought that's where it was going to take a nicer turn. Unfortunately, it did not, but it was really nice. I really like that setup. I loved, when the hero and the villain are having that like dialogue, that back and forth of like who's right and all that. So I really liked how that played out. I would say that probably was my favorite scene. Nice. I mean, there's a lot of other nice visuals, but that was the one that was just like, ooh.
Mm-hmm. I want to quickly say, I not that this was my favorite scene, but I did like this one when they were when they tried to come and they went to, what's the villain's name? Gremlin?
Something like that.
Something like that. They went to his house and his dragon started like trying to kill them and was like shooting like acid out of their mouths. Mm-hmm. I was like, whoa. I thought it was going to be like fire, like cliche thing, but I'm glad it wasn't. It was something different. And it was like, it made me fear for them even more because I'm thinking, man, if just a little bit of that like dragon vomit gets on you, it's going to burn you. Like it's going to just, you're going to disintegrate or you're going to just melt away. And they were like, being really reckless and just like spraying everywhere they could. And like, I was making the whole house collapse and dissolve. And it was like intense.
Yeah.
That really scared me.
That was a good scene too.
Probably my favorite scene. I'm going to pick the obvious choices when we saw the Hidden World. That was one of two favorite scenes. My second favorite scene.
The 10 years later.
The ending, yes, when he brought his kids and they met Toothless and their kids.
The way you described it, could tell.
Yeah.
The feels, it was complete.
It was perfect, man. It was perfect. So I loved it. So final real score time. Oscar, what are you giving this one?
I'm giving this one a 4.5 out of 5. Despite the villain issue, I still think that the story managed to focus on the appropriate characters, and that was Hiccup, Astrid, Toothless. They introduced the Light Fury, but I feel like the Light Fury wasn't like switching up everything. It wasn't like they, like everything that we know about it. Mm-hmm. I would say, yeah, so it was strong. I felt like they concluded it in a good way. They ended it in a way that if you absolutely, wanted to say, I'm done with How to Train Your Dragons, you can, and you can say that that's your last chapter, despite them most likely going to continue the next fourth one. But yeah, I really thought overall it was a satisfying film. I walked away, not emotional in the sense that I, was like, oh my gosh, the feels, but I walked away with like, man, I just finished, these characters. Like, that was the end of it. Like, it was a very good, satisfying film in the same way that you would get if you saw Toy Story 3 when it came out and you had that, like, conclusion with, like, man, that was a conclusion to that story. So, yeah, I think overall it's a solid film. If you've seen the first two and you liked them, even if it's like, now you don't have to love them. Even if you liked them, I would say watch the third one to just see the complete trilogy. But, yeah, one of the stronger animated film so far of 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. My score is going to be the same, 4.5 out of 5. Pretty much for the same reasons you said. I felt like the villain, they could have either made him more menacing and more villainous, or they could have just done something a little different and not have had another bad guy be the villain, just like they did with the second one. And then I'm also giving it a 4.5 just because as much as I did love The Hidden World, I feel like it was just very Pandora-like. And, it was beautiful, but I feel like maybe it could have done something a little different to deter from that. So they wouldn't get that reference so much, or they wouldn't get that comparison, which a lot of people have been saying it is very Pandora-like, but it's fine. But I think everything else was great. I mean, the pace of it was great. The characters amazing. The sentiment and the emotional side of it and the feels were there. And I think, if I was just going off the ending, I'd give it a 5. I think it was a perfect fitting ending to a trilogy. To a 9. This was like 9 years with this franchise. So it's I felt like it was appropriate to say goodbye. And yeah, so that's why I give it a 4.5. And if when they do come out with a fourth one, I will be watching it. And I wanted to say, if they do come out with a fourth one, it'll probably, I can see them just naming it something simple with like just dragons or something, or like, because like, I doubt they would do like How to Train Your Dragon, or maybe it'll be like, I don't know, Dragon Train. No, that's stupid. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing ideas out there. I could see it just being dragons, or like a Return to Berk or something. I don't know.
It's okay. You have plenty of time to
you.
get back to DreamWorks and let them know what the
Stop putting me on the spot, guys.
You put yourself on the spot.
I don't know. I'm content with that.
I mean, that, as a marketing standpoint, How to Train Your Dragon 4 would be the natural go-to title, because I would assume it's the same.
But then they keep breaking it up. So it's like they had How to Train Your Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and then How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. So it doesn't have a 3, but then we're just gonna go to How to Train Your Dragon 4. That's not being consistent.
Just saying.
Unless they just name it something different, call it How to Train Your Dragon.
Forever. Boom.
Like, whatever. A How to Train Your Dragon story.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. Shut up. Oh my gosh, whatever. Well, listeners, definitely let us know what you guys thought. If you see. Yeah, Ruben, let me wrap this up. Sorry. Remember, we're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can share your thoughts with us on YouTube and iTunes as well. And you can rate us on iTunes as well. Let us know if you guys felt as satisfied with this and with this film as we did, and if you would like to see a fourth one or not. Be interested to know.
We all do. Don't lie.
Okay. We all want to see one, yeah, but you know.
We all want to just right now be like, no, it's fine. It's a good.
I want to see one if it's gonna. If I don't want them to touch these characters. I just want them to just start new. That's all I ask. DreamWorks, whoever's listening, just don't touch these characters. Let's leave this story as is, and let's maybe expand and bring up a new character. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Donnie's
you guys
request.
so much.
Thank you, everyone.